Hey, y'all. As a growing family, my husband and I love game night, especially when it's Wayfair edition.
Let's do it. You gotta name as many Wayfair furniture and decor categories as you can. Ready? Go.
Sofas, bar stools, beds, ottomans, outdoor seating, bookshelves, kitchen tables, garden sheds, mid-century modern lamps.
Time. Nice. You got 9 out of a lot. Not too bad. Keep practicing by visiting wayfair.com, where you can shop every style for every home.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
They always say a house is a home. Or what's the saying? Your house is not a home? Something like that. There's a very famous saying about houses and homes. But what happens when your house or your home is actually a portal to another reality? And then we travel to Australia to take a look at a bloodthirsty cryptid. But was this really a mythical monster, or was it based on a real-life creature that loved to eat humans? Today on Dead Rabbit Radio. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Dead Rabbit Radio. I'm your host, Jason Carpenter. I'm having a great day. Hope you guys are having a great day too. I hope you guys are having tons of fun doing whatever you're doing. I hope you guys have an awesome weekend. We got a lot of stuff to cover today. So first off, running into Dead Rabbit Radio Command, everyone get on your feet and give it up for Papu. Woohoo, yeah, he's running on into Dead Rabbit Radio Command. Papu, Powopoo? Might be how you pronounce it. Not entirely for sure, but he is a member of the Patreon. He's a member of our Patreon Discord. He's always hanging out there. I see him on Steam all the time. I don't think we've played Battlefield 6 yet. But all of that aside, the reason why I'm not calling him out because he won't play with me on Battlefield 6. No, the reason why I'm giving him a shout out is because he shared his Spotify Wrapped, showing everyone how much he listens to and loves Dead Rabbit Radio. And if you guys can't support the show financially, do what Powopoo did. He's like, you should know how to pronounce my name, dude. I've been a member of your Patreon for years. Do what this guy did. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell everyone you know Dead Rabbit Radio is your favorite paranormal show. That is how you can help the show grow. Also, quick update, January 30th is going to be our Dead Rabbit Radio movie night. That's at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for Patreon members, free members, and paid members. Can attend the Friday night movie night coming up. And if you're not a member of the Patreon, or if you are, we have a Saturday morning movie morning as well. That's going to be at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and anyone can join that. So just follow me on YouTube or Twitter. I usually put the link to where the movie morning's going to be. We got a movie night for Patreon members, and we got a movie morning for the whole world. So hope to see you guys either at either one or both. That'd be cool too. Okay. Powpoo, I'm going to go ahead and let's get this party started. I'm going to go ahead and toss you... Ooh, new vehicle. I'm going to go ahead and toss you the Caniculus Canoe. I think Caniculus is Latin for rabbit or something like that. You're like, no, that's some sort of bug. We're now Dead Bug Radio. Get into the canoe. You're like, Jason, look it up. Look it up. Look up what a rabbit is in Latin. Well, anyways, but I'll do that later. Everyone climb on board this canoe that I just bought. And now I can write it off on my taxes because we talk about it during the show, is Powopoo paddles us out of Dead Rabbit Radio Command all the way out to Tennessee. Splish, splash, splish, splash, splish, splash, whee! It's canoe noises. Don't worry if that was irritating. We'll probably never use it again. But yeah, a little canoe. Now IRS, try auditing me this time. I'm just going to start mentioning everything I buy. Oh, macaroni and cheese, huh? I can write that off on my taxes now. We're headed all the way out to Tennessee. Specifically, we're headed out to Oak Ridge, Tennessee. If you live in the area, you may be able to find this house, and trust me, if this story is accurate, you definitely want to find this house. I would want to find this house, because this is quite the mystery. Yo, I'm not going to lie. I recorded all that stuff right there. And then I got hit by a horrible panic attack. I think that's what was happening. It's still going on. Sorry to interrupt the story I was about to tell. I don't know. Maybe this is interesting to you. Maybe you're having a panic attack right now. We can be panic pals. No, I don't know what it was. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, my teeth started chattering. Like uncontrollably chattering. And I was like, what? What's this? And then I started to think, oh no, is something happening? And then of course, if you have an anxiety attack, a panic attack, mine usually focused not around like someone's going to stab me from behind or anything like that. Mine's more like internal, like I'm having a heart attack, I'm having a seizure, having a stroke, what have you. And I was like, my teeth were chattering. And then obviously every single thing that I could feel different about my body in that moment was a sign of a stroke or a seizure or a heart attack. And it sucks. You know, if you listen to longtime listeners of Dead Rabbit Radio know that for a long time I struggled with anxiety attacks daily. And then about a year ago, 2 years ago actually at this point, they just stopped. They just completely stopped. And, you know, they come, I'll have one every couple months. But I used to be daily, so I'm very grateful that I no longer have them daily. But now it feels like every so often I'll get one and it'll be particularly bad. And here's the thing, at the end of the day, when you're having an anxiety attack, you don't know for sure that it's not a heart attack or a stroke or a seizure, unless you go to the hospital. And I've done that before. And I'll say this, and then we'll get back to the disappearing room. Oh, damn it, I already gave it away. Okay, you're like, oh, skip the next story. I will say this, it wasn't super helpful because I was at the movie theater. I recorded what you just heard. Got up, went to go see a movie. I know, seamless editing. I went to go see The Bone Temple. 28 years later, The Bone Temple. My teeth were chattering throughout that movie, not out of fright. It could have been something, I could be having a real medical emergency. I don't think so. But that movie sucked. It was really bad. And as I was watching it, you know, I'm in the anxiety attack. I'm thinking, dude, I could be having a heart attack. I don't know. And I'm watching this dumb movie and I think, dude, you know, as much as I love film, if this is the last movie I see, if I die during this movie, I mean, I guess it's fitting because I do like terrible movies, but this movie stank. And to be fair, there's been 4 28 movies. Only one of them has been good. 28 Days Later was bad. But it was light years ahead of 28 Weeks Later, which was actually probably one of the worst zombie movies ever made. Because it logically made no sense. Like, scene after scene after scene, you'd have a zombie that was dumb enough to run towards gunfire, but the same type of zombie would duck and hide when napalm is dropped. And it's like every scene is so inconsistent. It's a poorly written movie. It's poorly directed. And the acting was so-so. I've only seen it once. I've only seen 28 Days Later once as well. 28 years? Jason, we really don't care. Actually, this might be more entertaining if you did have a heart attack right now. Maybe this is the last time I'm ever going to be able to do a movie review, and then you're going to feel bad because you made me rush. 28 years later, that movie that came out last year, oh, I loved it. I loved it. And I hated the first two, and I don't like zombie movies that take place 10 years later or 28 years later or whatever. Because it's all about society rebuilding. I might as well watch a Western at that point. Post-apocalyptic movies where the apocalypse has already happened and people are kind of getting on with their life, but there happens to be a looming threat, i.e. zombies. I might as well be watching a Western, because that's all they are. It's a Western with a zombie threat. So I went to go see 28 Years Later, because I go, well, it's probably going to be just as terrible as the first two. And I really loved it. It was great. 2 thumbs up. So I had medium hopes for this one. And it was really bad. As much as I talk about torture porn on this podcast, trust me, I don't like it. I don't like movies where people are being tortured for prolonged periods of time. 3 minutes or less, I'm good with. No, that movie Talon Falls, that turned into... I didn't know it was going to be torture porn. Right? But I was fast forwarding. I said that I watched it, and that's technically true. But, you know, I'm just like 30 seconds ahead, because I don't want to see this guy's teeth get pulled out. I don't want to see his fingernails get pulled out one by one. I'm not into torture porn. So when I'm sitting in a movie theater, and that's basically like, there is at least 2 scenes in this movie that are torture porn. And this might be the last movie I ever watch. I might actually be dying. I might be mid-heart attack. And I gotta watch this guy get his skin ripped off by another human, because did you know? The real monster is man. It's a completely stupid movie. And then it has 2 other things that I really, really, really hate about zombie movies, but I'm not going to say what they are because I don't want to spoil it. I would say save yourself time. You know, you might go there, might have a heart attack. It might have been the movie that was doing it to me, honestly, but one good movie out of the entire franchise. That's a horrible track record. And I'm trying to think what other movie. The only other franchise I can think of that has that is Bring It On franchise. Out of 6 movies, only 2 of them are watchable. So, yeah, anyways, thanks for letting me get that off my heart attack laden chest. No, I don't think I'm having a heart attack. Again, I don't know for sure because I've never had one and I don't know what it's supposed to feel like. But does this sound like the voice of a man having a heart attack? You're like, yes, it sounds perfectly normal to me. But in the recording, you just hear me taking labored breaths that get more and more raspy. Okay, so thanks for letting me talk about my panic attack. Thanks for letting me talk about I totally already forgot the stupid movie 28 years later, The Bone Temple. The only person who got boned in that movie was me. You're like, wait, what? What were you some dude banging you? You're like, oh, okay, that might be why your teeth are chattering, Jason. Because you're getting boned. No, not like that. But yeah, there was a lot of male nudity in this movie. Like more than I expected. There was a lot of boners. Actually, they weren't turned on. It was all flaccid penis, but a lot of them. So, you could just think of that if you're going to go see it with your grandma. She's going to see a bunch of meaty peni. But anyways, let's talk about this story here real quick. We're headed all the way out to Tennessee. How's that for a transition? We're headed all the way out to Tennessee. Specifically, we're headed out to Oak Ridge, Tennessee. We're about to meet a little girl named Tina. This house is in Oak Ridge, Tennessee. I wonder if anyone could actually find this house. I don't know how big Oak Ridge is, but it's a 2-story house in Oak Ridge, Tennessee. And behind the house are woods and a small mountain. So you might be able to figure it out. If you live in the area or you have Google Earth, maybe you could locate it. And if you locate it, maybe visit it. But anyways, it's a house. It's a 2-story house. And when Tina was growing up in it, she would realize there was this odd phenomenon that was happening that only she noticed. She said every so often, a door would appear to a room that didn't previously exist in this house. She said the door wasn't always there, but if the door appeared, she was a young girl when this started, but it lasted the entire time she was living here. She goes, there was a door on the wall where there shouldn't, and had never been a room before. If you opened the door, you could walk into this room. She said one of the rooms was a spare bedroom. I mean, definition of spare, it doesn't always exist. It only exists when the mother-in-law shows up. That's the boomer joke. It's not even a joke. You open the door and you would see a spare bedroom, and Tina had been in this room multiple times, but only she could enter this door, or only she could see the door. She goes, it was a spare bedroom. She remembers that it had spotted blue wallpaper with a floor-length mirror. A floor-length mirror. So that means it was long as the floor, but how tall was it? It's like an inch. It's like an inch tall. It's just for the littles. Look at my acorn hat. I'm ready for the mouse prom. A floor-length mirror. It also had a large bed in it and in-wall shelving. Now, this door wasn't always there. There wasn't always way into this room. In fact, Tina goes, because, she grew up in this house. She'd been all over this house. She goes, not only was the door not always there, the room that the door opened to was larger than the exterior of the house would allow. So if you were standing outside the house, you'd be like, hey, look, there's a wall there, right? You're easily amused. You're like, what? Oh my God, is that one of those floor-length mirrors I've heard about? You would see just the exterior wall. But if Tina entered that room, it would be larger than should be allowed based on the dimensions of the house. Now, as a kid, she thought it was odd because she couldn't always find the rooms. That's just the first one. We'll talk about the second one in a second. She goes, it's not that she could always go into the rooms, but it wasn't so alarming because remember, as a kid, you might think, oh, this is normal. Every house has an interdimensional room. Well, she wouldn't think it was interdimensional. She'd just think it was some weird room. Because she'd go in there sometimes to play. And sometimes she would bring stuff out. The blue bedroom was the one she saw the least of. But she could go in there from time to time when the door was there. But sometimes there was a door and it was in a different location in this opening, center room, the floor plan of this house. There was another door on another wall that if you opened that, you walked into a storage room. And she said that was there a lot. Not all the time. It was not the storage room of our house. And I know that because I could go into where we stored stuff in our house. This was a separate place that, again, was too big for where the house should allow. She said on that one there were multiple standalone metal shelves. This was a fairly large room. There was multiple standalone metal shelves around the room, and it was filled with junk or random things, right? And she goes, I could retrieve things from this room, and again, I didn't think it was anything too spectacular, but when my parents realized I was carrying around a tray of sterling silverware, they're like, Tina, where'd you get that? And she goes, well, I got it from the storage room that's not always there. You know the one. And her parents had no idea what she was talking about. I think this is when it kind of started to dawn on her that there was something off. And we've talked about this. This is why a lot of kids can see ghosts, because they haven't really been told ghosts aren't real. They haven't put that in their brain yet. Once they're taught ghosts aren't real, which is a lie, by the way, but once they are taught that, then we've done episodes on that. The episode about the young girl and her grandfather, I think, is the perfect example of that. Put it in the show notes. But she's experienced all this stuff. She goes, I also at one point left one of the rooms, and I don't know if this was the blue bedroom or the storage room, but she goes, I took out of the room a book that was completely written in Hebrew. And once again, my parents were like, why do you have a book in Hebrew? I don't know. Got it out of the room. I got it out of the room. They're like, Tina, there's no room there. There's a blank wall. And she goes, my parents ended up taking it to their church, or her church. They all went to church together, but she goes, we took it to our church, and they gave it to a woman there who could read Hebrew. But then there's no, I mean, like, again, if it was like a key of magical spells, if it was the Kabbalah or something like that, I'm sure the news would have gotten back to the family. It was probably a totally normal book written in Hebrew. There's probably nothing spectacular, so they gave it to the woman. She's like, what? And Tina grew up in this house, and this is what gets scary about it. She goes, not only could I pull items out, but again, so as an adult, if you saw this phenomenon, you would, I mean, it would blow your mind. This would be one of those things that I think you'd have a really, really hard time wrapping your head around psychologically, because it shouldn't be real. Even if you saw a ghost, there's enough stuff that makes you go, well, ghosts might be real. I was out at a work party the other night, and I asked my boss, so do you believe in ghosts? Because she found out about my podcast, and so we talked a little bit. And, you know, you can have those conversations. Now imagine if I said, hey, so do you believe that somewhere in your house there's going to be a door to a room that's not always there? Both the door and the room? She's like, what? What are you talking about? There's no frame of reference for it. It sounds too loony. I think it could. I believe that this story's 100% possible. I don't know if it's 100% true, because it's an anonymous report, but I do believe in the facts that this could be true. And portals and stuff like this actually freak me out a lot. Because as an adult, let's say that you saw this, and let's say that you didn't lose your mind. I'm not saying it's the worst thing you can see. You're like, the madness inside of me. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a door. But as an adult, you'd open it up, you'd see a room that shouldn't be there, that's bigger than how much is left on your floor plan of your house. We would try to take photos of it. We'd try to live stream it. If we went in, we would look for items that would show an origin of this room, not of this reality. Right? I would bring out as much junk as possible. Actually, that's my new excuse is why my place is so messy. What? That's not trash. This is research. All these empty Amazon boxes, they came from an alternate reality. Yeah, I mean, imagine if you walked into a room that only existed sometimes and you saw junk all over the shelves. We'd clear it off. Because even that junk, quote-unquote junk, could be a clue as to what's going on. A product made by a company that doesn't exist. You can find that stuff at Goodwill. There's a lot of companies that no longer exist. But you know what I mean? We would pull back these artifacts. We would take a nap in the bed. We're like, oh, this feels so much more comfortable in this dimension. But see, that's the other thing. This type of story freaks me out. Let me finish Tina's encounter real quick. She goes, I'd go into the blue bedroom. Sometimes I'd play in there. And when it was time for us to move, what had happened was I had brought some of my toys into the blue bedroom to play. And then I left, and then I couldn't find the door again in time to move. So I left without a big box of my toys. And my parents were like, Tina, what happened to all of your toys? And at this point, she's already told them about the rooms. They're confused, bordering on they just don't believe her. Because it doesn't make sense. If she said a ghost did it, if she said a demon did it, if she said an alien abducted her toys, you would still be pretty alarmed as a parent. You might think your kid's, going through something other than a paranormal event. But saying something like this is just so beyond the pale, as even in the world of the paranormal. And her experience with the toys, she never got them back. And I'm sure when she moved to her new house, she kept waiting for a door to show up, because you would just assume, again, that was a natural thing if you grew up with that. The toys being lost in the room that's the scary part of this stuff. Because you could go in there and be like, we're going to pull all this junk out, we're going to catalog it, we're going to see if we can find a clue as to what this is from, what reality this is from. Is it possible this doorway is not leading us into another reality? It's leading us into another physical location on Earth. Some guy's like, where's all my silverware, man? The boss is coming over for dinner, and I promised I would impress him. And she's taking stuff out of someone else's house. It could be not trans-dimensional, but trans-Earth. Trans-global. But who knows, right? We would be investigators. We'd pull stuff out. But imagine you walked into that room and you start grabbing items. You turn around, that doorway out of that room is now gone. That's the scary thing to me about portals and stories like this. The idea of jumping into a portal, exploring what's on the other side, intrigues me probably more than a lot of paranormal phenomenon. Because at the very least, you're getting teleported across the planet. At the most, you're experiencing an entire new reality, one that you may have never been able to comprehend. Hopefully, it's something like Eternia, where there's a bunch of hot girls running around and talking cats and stuff like that. And not a reality where oxygen is sulfuric acid and you instantly melt. A good reality. I mean, it's Skeletors running around and stuff like that, but you know what I mean? Like, you could have fun in Eternia, or you could have fun in, I don't know, the Marvel universe or whatever. I end up going to the 28 years later Bone Temple universe? No! But anyways, that movie was terrible. It was dumb. It was really bad. Imagine going into that room to investigate, and the door out is no longer there. Or when you step out of that door, you're entering another house in yet another reality. You never find your way back home. And, this might be a little tasteless, but whenever I come across stories like this, I always wonder, sometimes, it's super rare, but sometimes there are those stories of people who go missing and they're just never seen again. Not that they were seen getting into a car, not that they were seen getting held up at a liquor store robbery, forced into a vehicle, not that they were seen, being brutally murdered. Obviously, you don't know who killed her, but you know that she didn't vanish. Stories like Barbara Bolick. One of my favorite episodes, one of the favorite stories of this podcast is the Barbara Bolick story. Vanished. She was out of sight for like 13 seconds, something like that, 35, 40 seconds. She's never been seen again, not a single clue. Middle of the day, hiking trail, her buddies were behind her. She turned the corner, they turned the corner just a few seconds later, right? Never seen again. Stories like that make me think about portals. Stories about kids that vanish and are never seen again make me think of portals. Remember that story we covered a long time ago? I think it was in the first 100 episodes because it was such an intriguing true crime story. A young couple went to a monument in New York or somewhere on the East Coast. They took some photos, or they were sending videos on the internet. They both completely vanish. A couple weeks later, his body is found floating in the water. They think that he drowned. Never found her. No body, no clothes, no evidence, nothing. She vanished off the face of the earth at a haunted lighthouse. Or a lighthouse that had a curse or something like that. I'll put that episode in the show notes as well. I do wonder about portals. They're fascinating to explore, but there's a chance you'll never come back. And you would just be a missing person. No one would ever know what happened to you. If Tina had played in this blue bedroom for too long, she may not have been posting this story in paranormal forums. but her parents would still be posting missing child posters of her around town, hoping and praying that they see their little girl again. Wow, Jason, a little depressing. You're talking about He-Man? You're talking about running around the Marvel Universe? Now I gotta think about all the missing kids. You ever go to like Walmart? I don't know if they do this at Target. I don't know if they do this at Ross Dress for Less, but at the Walmarts, they have that big wall of missing kids. Not for sale. You're like, oh, I know where your kid's at. 2 for 1. Down at Walmart. No, missing kids. No, missing kids posters. And they're not all kids, but usually teenagers. And you go into Walmart, and I'll look at them. I'll kind of be like, oh, I mean, I haven't seen anyone, but you never know. You might have been walking down the street and you saw this kid at McDonald's. He looked like from Oliver Twist and stuff like that. He was wearing rags and his face is all dirty. And you're like, oh, that's weird. And he's eating a burger. And then you go to Walmart and you see a poster of him, right? He's clean. He's clean in the photograph. And it's like, Lil Billy. He got kidnapped. He got kidnapped by the Hamburglar. He's this kidnapper who kidnaps kids, makes them eat McDonald's until they get dirty. They have to rub the meat on their face. And I go, oh, dude, I totally saw that guy. And then I could call the cops and be like, yo, if you're looking for the Hamburglar, it sounds delicious, so I'm going to get kidnapped by him. I was like, oh, no, I have to eat McDonald's all the time? Oh, what a tragedy. Yo, I saw this dirty kid at McDonald's. He's there. And then the cops go and they save the kid. Like, you check out I'll tell you this, though. They're never that entertaining. You're like, wow, that sounds fascinating. Honey, I know what we're going to do for date night. Read the missing kids posters. Jason made them sound fun. No, they're usually super depressing, right? It's a lot of like, well, you can imagine. I was going to start listing stuff off. You're like, nah, dude, it's cool. It's cool. You don't have to list stuff off. It's usually pretty depressing. You're watching all these. But anyways, Papoa, let's go ahead and toss you the keys to the world. Famous Carpenter Copter, we're saying goodbye to the Bone Temple. We're saying goodbye to Tennessee. Why don't you fly us all the way out to Australia, mate? Did I mention that there's a dance sequence in 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple? Did I happen to bring that up? It's so dumb. It was so stupid. The guy... 28 years after the apocalypse, everyone in Britain is either dead, a monster, or a Satan worshiper, pretty much. And then this dude has a working record player, which, fine, whatever, right? You're like, Jason, okay, get over it. You didn't enjoy the movie. This guy not only has a working record player 28 years later, but he has a copy of Iron Maiden's album with a song called, like, Sign of the Beast or Mark of the Devil or something like that. And there's a dance. You're like, Jason, you're just making this up now. No, it's in it. It's in the movie. This hermit who hasn't seen anyone, alive at least, for the past 28 years, has a dance routine and a full, like, suit. He's, like, dressed in this fireproof suit, and he's doing a fire dance like some dude from Hawaii. He has, like, this machine that shoots out fire. While they're playing the song, the whole song, by the way, right? It's 5 minutes long. It's 5 minute long dance scene. I know you guys are all going to rush out to prove me wrong. You're like, Jason, you clearly were having an episode. You hallucinated that. There's no dance sequence in 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple. There is. There is the whole song. So anyways, forget all that. You're like, how do I get that image out of my head? Ralph Fiennes doing a dance sequence? A one-man dance sequence? We're flying all the way out to Australia. We're going to take a look at this crazy story. Papoa, why don't you go ahead and hit that time travel button, because this isn't a modern story. We're flying back into prehistory. We're headed all the way back to 50,000 BC. Carpenter Copter flying through the time portal. We're headed all the way back to 50,000 BC. Let me set the stage a little bit better here, actually. We're headed out to South Australia. This area nowadays is known as the Riverina District. And along the banks of the Murray River, this area used to be dotted by Aboriginal tribes. So they'd be hanging out there during the day. The tribesmen are out beating kangaroos to death with boomerangs and then bringing back delicious kangaroo meat. One kid, the lucky kid of the tribe, gets to eat the baby kangaroo. It's like, hey, Billy, you were the best at school today. Why don't you take a bite out of this kangaroo fetus? He's like, oh man, I was hoping I wasn't that good. I failed that test on purpose. Well, you still gotta eat this baby kangaroo. Take a bite. You cook the kangaroo up. I wonder if you would, like, use the kangaroo baby as stuffing. Like, if you cook the whole kangaroo. That's disgusting, Jason. Just get on with the story, man. Probably not. I think generally we stuff animals with things that don't come from the animal. Like when you have a turkey, for Thanksgiving, you don't stuff it with a smaller turkey inside of it. But nothing would go to waste, right? Someone's eating kangaroo fetus that day. You've got this kangaroo meat, and you go out and you're hunting other animals, wallabies and koalas and whatever else lives in this area. And you're good at it. You're really, really good at it. You provide for your tribe. And now it's nighttime. The sun goes down. You have this very prosperous tribe on the banks of the Murray River. The women and the children are singing songs. And you're kind of just standing there. You're looking over and you're like, man, I sure am glad that I have such a great tribe of people. And I feel proud that I can protect them. I can feel proud that I bring them all of this kangaroo meat and also this delicious kangaroo baby. Om, nom, nom. I saved this one for myself. Om, nom, 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 nom. You're eating it, and it's just another joyous night in a truly, for lack of a better word, primitive society. But this is like the height of man at this time. 50,000 BC. You had a functioning human society. Primitive just sounds insulting. And you're sitting there and you're watching your tribe celebrate another great day. And it's time to go to bed. You're like, yeah, it's time to turn in. So you lay down on the Australian soil next to your family. Close your eyes and dream peaceful dreams. But then you wake up. Huh? What's happened here? You say as you get to your feet. You look over. Your family, they're gone. It's like, what? It's like 3 or 4 in the morning. It's still super early. Where's my family at? And then you notice there's a massive hole torn through your tent. Or whatever a domicile they built back then. I'm not for sure. But basically, there's a massive part of your house missing. He's like, no, my wife, Wendy. My son, Joey. I named my son Joey because he's like a baby kangaroo and I'm going to eat him someday. That's the name that just popped in my head. Wendy, Joey, where are you? And you run out of the side of your collapsing house. And that's when you notice massive footprints across the village. You notice people wailing, no, where's my family? Screaming in the air. You see hunters readying their weapons, trying to find a spear or a boomerang to fight against what just happened. Your proud tribe, within hours, was almost completely wiped out. There's only 5, maybe 10 of you left. The rest of your tribe, including your own family, was devoured by the Whowie. Who doesn't? Like I said, a wolf, no, the monster doesn't howl, but I wanted to do something dramatic. It probably made some sort of noise. You hear echo off into the distance. The Whowie had destroyed your people. The story's super fascinating. This is an old Aboriginal legend. There was a creature believed back in time called the Whowie. Basically like what we would consider a cryptid today. It was massive. It was this huge lizard-like creature. And the reason why you just want to say it was a large lizard, because it had the body of a lizard but the head of a frog. It also apparently had 6 legs. And it would wander around this area, eating people. The legends say that it was so stealthy, it could devour an entire village in a night. Like, you wouldn't hear it. It'd be crawling through, eating people, and it's getting them so quickly that you don't notice that everyone's getting gobbled up. You have the Whowie moving through this area. And the legends go that this creature was an enemy to mankind. It was huge. When you did come across it, you couldn't really do any damage to it. Because of its lizard-like skin, conventional weapons wouldn't work. I mean, here's the thing. Enough people attacking it at a single point could probably injure it. But a lot of times, because these tribes would be spread out, or maybe you and your buddies were out hunting and you guys came across it, you're not going to be able to stop it. You're going to need combined arms to take this thing down. And that's something that they didn't have until eventually, because this thing was such a menace along the riverbank, they called a council, the tribes called a council, and everyone got together and they go, we have to stop this thing. It is killing us. It's just eating us up. Whenever we tried taking it on one at a time, I mean, that definitely didn't work, but when we tried taking it on one tribe at a time, it still didn't work. We have to stop this. So, and again, this is super fierce. Who would want to go against this thing? But eventually, the tribes said, yeah, I mean, I didn't agree with you last Tuesday, but then my entire village got eaten. I'm the only guy left, so I guess that's one yay vote. Changed my mind. The tribes got together, and they kind of knew where this dude lived. Because here's the thing, as stealthy as he was also really slow. So you could follow him, but when you caught up to him, there really wasn't anything you could do. You could follow him, and he turns around, and you're like, okay, I'm going to go back the other way. He luckily was really slow. That was one of his big weaknesses. But he also apparently, because there's different legends, right? This story is old. This story is very, very old, and it's kind of considered it is considered a cryptid, like in modern vernacular. It's a cryptid. People still talk about it because these locations you can go to today. Like, historians look back at these stories and they go, well, this was obviously taking place along the banks of the Murray River. We know that. But researchers have actually, they believe they pinpointed the hole. Well, and here's the thing. Natural researchers look at this as a legend, the same way that people who study Greek mythology, they want to find out, where this supposed meeting between Zeus and this human took place. But they don't actually believe that Zeus met a human. They just go, oh, this is the location. This must have been the location they were talking about, the real-world location when this myth was created. And so what happens is, there's a place, modern day, it's known as Punyelroo Cave. It's a real cave off of the Murray River. There's a lot of caves in this area. This is one of the longest caves. And modern historians have cited that cave. They go, we actually think that is the cave that this old legend speaks of, where they believe that the Whowie lived. So what happened was the tribes go, we're going to get together, we're going to take this guy down. So the message sent out was this: you're going to bring your weapons, send your warriors. We're not going to say your greatest warriors, they should come too, but anybody, right? Anyone who can wield a weapon needs to come with us on this hunt. And also, not only bring your weapons, bring as much sticks and wood that you can carry. Because we know he's in this cave. And we have a plan. They had been observing the Whowie, and he walked into the cave, and he's so slow, and the cave is known to be so long, they figured it takes him a week to get from one end of the cave to the other. So once he enters the cave and goes all the way back to his home, you have a week to prepare for your assault. So the Whowie went in, and the tribes went out there and they met. They piled up all their wood right outside the entrance of the cave and set it all on fire. Just filling the cave with smoke. Their plan is to basically incapacitate him with smoke, basically force him out on their terms. And when he comes out, he's not going to be doing too well. He's going to have to burst through a bunch of fiery wood. He's been breathing in smoke for a week, because that's what happens. They start the fire, and then they're waiting there. It's like day 6 or 7. It might have been the full week, when all of a sudden, the Whowie comes out of the cave, and doesn't look too good. He's been inhaling smoke for a week, and he goes, oh, I better go figure out what's going on, and he started walking, but he was living in a cave full of smoke for a week. Each step, he's all, ugh, coughing up. Well, finally, he comes out of the mouth of the cave, and the united tribes lay siege to him. They just begin beating him over the head with clubs, throwing spears at him. Most the occasional boomerang, but I mean the thing is like they didn't have a huge arsenal, they didn't have a lot of variety, but you didn't need a lot when you're fighting a massive lizard whose lungs are 90% filled with smoke. And they fought him, and they're beating him up and stabbing him, and Wowie's all again, I don't know if it actually made any noise. It might have sounded more like a frog, a battle frog. Who knows? But anyways, they start beating him over the head, and they end up wounding the Whowie pretty bad. And they figured that out because the Whowie just turned around and went back into the cave. So it's like, oh man, I've been bashed in the head so much, I'd rather breathe than smoke than continue to put my head out here and get a breath of fresh air. They just bashed him up so badly he turned around, went back into the cave, and the wood was still burning. They didn't then pack up all their wood and leave. They just kept the cave being smoked out as it wandered off into the darkness, and the Whowie was never seen again. So the Aborigines go, we did it. Like, that's pretty dope. We actually fought a monster and won, and now, for the first time in a long time, we can feel safe when we go to sleep at night. We won't have to worry about waking up and finding our entire village gone. What's interesting about this story, I mean, other than the fact that a bunch of humans fought a monster, there's two things that really stuck out to me when I was researching this. One, there is a parallel to part of this story in an episode we covered 1,000 episodes ago, probably, that took place in Nevada. And it was American natives fighting a race of giant cannibalistic monsters. They were human, but they appeared much like what we would call the Nephilim. They were pale, and they had red hair, and they were giant. They were nearly unstoppable. And all the tribes got together in the area. This story took place in Nevada, and they knew that the cannibal giants lived in a cave, and they stacked up a bunch of wood and smoked the giants out, and then annihilated all of them. The natives killed all the giants. Now, the giants that was their town in there. They were killing like women and children giants and hunter giants, and so they wiped them all out. They basically killed this entire race of whatever they were. But it's also interesting to think that you have a story in Australia that's really old and a story in Nevada that's really old, and they both have that same element. There's a monster in a cave. This is how we got rid of it. This smoke trap. We waited outside for it to come out and kill it. So it makes you go, is that a real phenomenon? I mean, it's kind of odd that you have... I'm sure that was a viable tactic back then. I'm sure you smoked out villages if you could. You surrounded in piles of wood, and on a good day, all the wind blows the smoke into the village, and they you can't fight like them. But anyways, I thought that was an interesting element. But what is unique about this story is that it's this ancient story in Aboriginal culture where they were fighting the Whowie, and eventually they were able to destroy it. We may know exactly what the Whowie was. It wasn't a myth. It wasn't a legend. Parts of it may have been exaggerated. Not the parts you would think. Because what it turns out, this is insane. What it turns out when you look at the fossil record of this area, at the same time when we know Aboriginal tribes lived there, also in this area lived the Megalania. Trump's wife? No. The Megalania. And I could be mispronouncing that. Probably am. The Megalania. The biggest land lizard to ever walk the earth. Which is weird, because I thought, well, what about dinosaurs? Are dinosaurs considered lizards, or are they just something else? It's like a different family. I don't know. But according to my sources, the Megalania was the largest land lizard to ever exist, and it lived in this area. They said that these things can be anywhere from 6 feet long, not including the tail. So you go, they're fighting this Megalania, that's pretty small. Like, I could probably take a 6-foot-long lizard. That was the smallest one they caught. And remember, that didn't measure the tail. They said the Megalania could be anywhere from 6 feet long, not including the tail, to 23 feet long. Not including the tail. I mean, it's almost, it's the size of a 2-story house crawling after you. And not including the basement. Not including the basement. There's another, who knows how long these tails were. And they said this thing was in the area. And it's pretty likely that the Aborigines fought them. Now, they don't have 6 legs. They're not incredibly slow. That wasn't something that was noted about them. But again, if you look at the fossil record, it doesn't have a little, speedometer on it. But you could, I guess, by looking at the bones, tell how fast they could get. They said they definitely didn't have 6 legs. We don't believe that they would be slow, and they were also poisonous. Now, this is interesting because if you had one of these walk into your village, if a 23-foot-long lizard walked into your village and started attacking people, it's looking for food, even a simple bite could kill you. Even if it didn't devour you or carry you off into the darkness, simply getting scratched or poked, maybe all the venom's in its mouth, but and listen, if you get clawed by something that's 23 feet long, you're not going to be like, oh, this is nothing, man. I'm just going to hold my stomach together until the scar appears. It probably could wipe out a village. Not stealthily, not people waking up, because that was the whole thing. They'd say it would devour a whole village, and it wouldn't alert anyone. It was so stealthy. If one of these things came in your village, it would wipe you out. It's a monster. It is 100%. If you saw this walking down your street today, it would appear to be a monster. It's so huge. And it would be hard to fight. Or would it? Because what's interesting about this is we do believe that we can look at the fossil record, we can look at the record, we can use archaeological tools and techniques to find out how long Aborigines had been in this area. They believe that the Aborigines came to Australia between 65,000 and 50,000 BC. And the youngest skeleton we've ever found of a Megalania was 50,000 BC. So they would have been interacting. There's a lot of belief that the humans and the Megalania would have encountered each other. But what is interesting is some people believe that it is the humans that drove the Megalania to extinction. That they were actually able to hunt these things fairly effectively, kill them, and then eat them. Might want to stay away from the poison gland. But they go, it's possible that the Megalania kind of ruled this area until humans showed up. Much like, whales were the apex predator of the ocean. There was nothing, they had no natural predators until we started taking deep sea boats, crossing the oceans. It would be the same thing here. The Megalania would have been the apex predator, and then humans showed up. And just with our ability to use tools and to plan ahead, set traps, things like that, you can kind of dominate any species if you have enough material and enough time to process how to do it. You can pretty much kill any animal on the planet, and that's something that's unique about humans. You could give a bear a shotgun and it's not going to know how to do it, but you can give a man a lot of wood and tools to sharpen that wood, and a week, and he'll be able to kill that bear. Even someone who's not, he might die as well, but the point is that you'd be able to go, I'm in this area, maybe I can build a trap, maybe I can sharpen these spears and build some sort of tiger trap. Maybe I can sharpen a spear and just kill myself with it because I don't want to get eaten by a bear. Do you know what I mean? You give a human enough time and enough tools, they can kill anything. But who knows, right? They say that humans may have sped along the extinction of the Megalania. It probably was, that part's probably true, but I don't think it was necessarily easy. I don't think it was easy. And I'm sure the bigger ones were more feared than they were considered a food source. Fighting a 23-foot long, not including the tail, lizard, I mean, it's not something you're going to look forward to. And that one, again, that wasn't a freak one. That is a size of them. It wasn't like, this is this was the giant of them. No. They found a lot of, apparently, skeletons of Megalania that big. And the humans probably did fight them, and they probably ate humans, and this lasted. I mean, again, the youngest skeleton we found was 50,000 BC. It wasn't a rollover on either side. Actually, probably, if you think about it, there were probably more tribes completely wiped out by one or two of these things before you could even really start to figure out how to stop them. It's almost like a real-life Godzilla movie. So it's like an amazing, like, it's one of those stories that is an old legend that if someone told it to you, you'd go, oh, yeah, I mean, we have legends like that all over the world. We have legends about monsters in Greece. We have legends about monsters in Native America. We have legends about monsters in South America, all over the world, right? And they can go, oh, no, ours was real. We have the bones of them. You're like, what? Yes, look at these bones. This is the monster that used to feed off of us. You can go to a museum and you can actually see proof that they existed, which I think that kind of trumps every other monster story out there, every other fable of like a Cyclops, or even modern day cryptids. We still don't have bones of the Chupacabra or Bigfoot. They got these bones of this thing, right? A lot of them. It's really interesting. I'd be interested to know if anyone really goes into Punyelroo Cave. Is that how you, Punyelroo Cave? They say it's super, super long, so I'm sure people do go in there from time to time. I mean, if there was big bones back there, 50,000 years ago, I think they're going to turn to dust. But who knows? Maybe the caves perfectly preserved it, and you could go back there and you could see this Whowie skeleton. But very interesting. I'm sure the battles were real and the monster was real, and the fear of this thing coming into your village was real, and then they did eventually kill them all, and over time the story began to kind of be simplified and it became a singular monster, and some of the details were, you can't even hear it coming. I know lizards aren't the noisiest of creatures, but a giant one, I'm sure, will make some noise. But it's interesting because you have a real-life story, and then you have kind of the myth behind it, and it turns out that myth is closer than pretty much all other monster myths out there. They have bones of this thing. Little exaggerations, frog head. Maybe that came from the poison thing. Maybe they connected the poisonous glands, the poisonous bite, to being frog-like, and that was a translation error, but who knows? Fascinating stuff. The story of the Whowie. The next time someone tries to tell you about some monster they've encountered or some cryptid they're hunting, just go, dude, that's nothing. Let me tell you about the Whowie, a mythological monster based on real life. You have to say it just like this. You got to look right at him and say, based on real life bones. And they're like, what? What are you talking about? I was just telling you about a monster that I saw outside my window. I think he's going to kill me tonight. You're all, shh, do you have his bones? No, I think he's going to have my bones. He told me. You go, shh, you think that's spooky. Let me tell you about the Whowie. A creature of myth, born from the bones. Bones underground. They're like, why are you all about bones? And if they keep asking you questions like that, you just look at them, you look them dead in the eye, and you go, deadrabbitradio@gmail.com is going to be your email address. You can also hit us up at facebook.com/deadrabbitradio. TikTok is at deadrabbitradio. Dead Rabbit Radio is the daily paranormal, conspiracy, and true crime podcast. You don't have to listen to it every day, but I'm glad you listened to it today. Have a great one, guys.